It's Down to Business with Jack Miller. Forget what they teach you in school. This is real life, not Wall Street, but Main Street. A real show on what's really involved with starting and running a business with all the ups and downs. Our guests will answer your questions and provide you with valuable information. Stay tuned and join in the conversation.
When the earth was created, the word came down.
Hey, hello everyone. Hopefully everyone's having a great day. It's a beautiful day here in Miami. I know we're being broadcast throughout South Florida and throughout the world on the internet. I'm really excited about today's show. We have a great guy on by the name of Hillel Presser, who's the Dean of Asset Protection. Hillel's an attorney. I'll give you his background in a few minutes, but I'm super excited to get him on. The show this morning, I want to remind everyone the show is brought to you today by Gelt Financial. Gelt Financial is a commercial mortgage banker. We focus on loans to businesses and investment real estate. You could reach us at 561-221-0900, as well as Quick Liquidity, who purchases non-liquid minority interests in real estate partnerships, who you can reach us at 561-221-0881. Of course, you can look me up on Facebook, Jack Miller Down to Business. And like I say, I'm really excited for today's show. By the way, the call-in number, if anyone wants to call in and tell me something, it's 305-541-2350. That's 305-541-2350. No, I don't do speed or anything. This is just the way I normally talk. I'm normally so hyper and so strung out. This is my normal self. So anyway, I hope everyone had a good week. I was actually thinking about something on the way in. I was checking my Facebook right before I left my office, and I saw two things. One, I saw people posting a post about Bruce Jenner or Caitlyn Jenner or whatever the proper name. Caitlyn. Thank you. Wanda, I didn't ask. How are you today, my love?
I'm grand.
By the way, Wanda, this is our 7th show, and I don't know about you, but I feel
that long?
It's wonderful.
Awesome.
Seven's a beautiful number. Seven's a magical number.
It's my number.
Good, but I also, you know what? I feel like we're building a bond. What do you think? You think we're connecting more every week?
Yes. Now that this is the magic number, it feels special today.
It's special for me, too.
It feels very special.
I love that. But anyway, so to be politically correct...
I'm sure your wife will be texting any minute now.
My wife's texting all the time.
Be a part of the show. Text in.
She will, I promise. I can almost promise. Anyway, I saw, it's fascinating, and I'm 53, so I grew up in the era of Bruce Jenner, and I wish him happiness. And I don't want to make a political statement. I don't really care. I believe whatever anyone does in their life, let them do it. I couldn't care less. But one of the ththings I'm starting to see is people on Facebook compare him to war heroes and people who were in D-Day in Iraq and saying, how much they're kind of saying, oh, this is courage. It's for him to come out compared to a veteran who really took bullets. And I keep thinking, without being political, the truth is everyone has their own courage, and some people are scared of different things, and maybe it was more courage for him to come out and admit his feelings than a guy to go fight in a battle. Or I know someone who's actually scared to leave their own house, and to them, leaving their house takes more courage than different things. So I think to those people who are I don't want to say bashing, but comparing the media and the pop culture to Bruce or Caitlyn, I think you got to realize that courage is different to everyone else. To some people, going out to dinner or talking or leaving their house or whatever takes more courage than a guy going into battle. I'm not demeaning the guys going into battle. Believe me, they're heroes. We wouldn't be here from them. But just kind of a little pop culture thought. I don't know. What do you think, Wanda?
Well, I think courage is immeasurable in different cases. I mean, it's different. It's different for everyone.
It's scary.
If your courage is you stepping out of your comfort zone, it's not you stepping out of someone else's comfort zone. So courage for you could be merely just stepping out of the room,
But that's my point.
Exactly. And I agree with you.
We shouldn't look at the next person to measure what's courage for them.
Right.
Believe it or not, I never asked a girl out on a date or a girl to a dance. I never even asked my wife to marry me. Somehow it just
happened.
It did because I was too
woke
shy
up married.
and too scared she would say no. So it just kind of like assumed the sale. So we shouldn't measure each other's courage.
Absolutely not.
The other thing, I don't know, I was up the other night and I happened to watch, this has nothing to do with business, but I don't know why. I was watching America's Got Talent, and which I love the show, but there was this kid on who was, I don't know, 10, 12 years old, and he was legally blind. He couldn't see. He could see, like, they said, like a straw through his eyes. And he got up, danced so beautifully, and it really was touching, because we are, I don't want to say me who don't have, I have physical impairments, but those, not that kind of physical impairments, we always blame other things, but this kid really took adversity, turned it upside down, and stopped putting blame on everything else, and got the courage and the muster without seeing. If I couldn't see, I'd lay in bed and cry all day, and he turned it upside down, and I think people like that are an inspiration. Speaking of inspiration, somebody sent me a quote this week, or a couple quotes. I want to read them. It's actually, you can Google it. It's called Famous Failures. I don't know why the person sent it to me. Maybe it was a signal. But it listed it. I'll quote a couple of them. And again, this is to anyone who's scared to try something or thinks that if they failed, really what failure is. And the first one, it says Michael Jordan. It says, after being thrown out of his high school basketball team, he went home, locked himself in his room, and cried. You know, this is Michael Jordan. I'm sure he did, but he had the courage to get up after he cried for 10 or 15 minutes.
For sure.
And go back to work. By the way, I lock myself in my room every night and cry. That's just like part of the game.
I'm glad you locked the door.
I understand. Actually, I don't lock the door, but my dog comes in and my wife comes in.
Aw.
Oprah Winfrey, I didn't realize she was fired from her first job because they said she wasn't fit for television. That's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper job for lacking imagination.
Loser.
Steve Jobs, he was fired from being CEO of his own company and removed by his own board. These people are great people. My point is, don't be scared. Don't be scared. Don't think you're a failure. If you get knocked on your backside, you got to get up, because that's the way life is. We're not measured on how we get knocked off the chair. We all get knocked off the chair. It's how we get back up on the chair. Anyway, with that, let's keep moving with the show. Wanda, we teed up for our wonderful weekly Reb Shlomo Bregman at Bregman Success. We teed up. Ready?
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
It's Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Bregman of the Jewish Executive Learning Network. And in today's clip, I want to make a very important point that for me is a key distinction that I have with me in my own mind, that when I caught on to this, it changed my life in the ways that I wanted to be successful in a big way, okay? So there's some people in life out there who don't really accomplish much. And even if you put them in a position to be successful, they flop. Okay, there's people like that. Then there's people out there that I call playmakers. It sounds good. Hey, I'm a playmaker. Let's say you're an athlete, you're a football player. Oh, he's a playmaker. You want him on your team. Playmaker's good. What happens? You put him in the right position and he can make a play. She can make, they'll make something happen for you. And then I realized in life, and that I thought at a certain point, like maybe I'm a playmaker, and I was. Then I realized there was a higher level, and when I got that and I got it in my head, it totally changed my life in a way that allowed me to accomplish much more of what I wanted to, and that's something higher. You ready for this? A little drum roll? That's what I call being a play creator. What's the difference between a playmaker and play creator? This is what Rabbi Bregman has to say about this, okay? A playmaker is a person, let's say you work in a company, and this is a person that can't start a company, she can't make a company, she can't create a meeting, she can't get anybody interested in a product per se, but if you put this person in the right place, in the right room, with the right product, somebody's already pre-sold, whatever else, they can deliver, they can move product, they can make things happen, they can win the case, they could do that thing if they can make the play. Now, some people can't even make a play. But I found my life really began to move forward when I became a play creator. And that is, no. I create the play and then I make the play after, okay? It's an important distinction. I'll give you an example. What is a playmaker? Some people think they're a playmaker. Let's say you have a company. So what do? You put an ad in the newspaper, you sit at home, and you wait for the phone to ring, and maybe somebody will call, and then you'll follow up, and you'll answer. Maybe you send out some spam, some email, whatever, and then you'll follow up with who reaches out to you. And now, not everybody can even deliver in that circumstance, so somebody could call and people will drop the ball. So it's a level to be a play maker, but I want to be a play creator, meaning that if your phone ain't ringing with business, what do? You make the phone ring, okay? Do stuff that will make the phone ring. So don't just put an ad in the paper and then you sit back and then you hope people will call and then you'll do what you got to do and you bring your A game when that call comes in. No. You could do that and then maybe you'll be a playmaker, but be a play creator. If your phone's not ringing for business, guess what? Make it ring. Make 100 phone calls plus your ad. Go out there and actually manufacture, make things happen. Get out there and create, and don't just wait there for something to fall into your lap and you're going to actually make then. I think it's very important to do both, and a playmaker is a level that some people are very far away from, so we have to talk about them another time. But see if you can strive to be even more than that. Be a person who can create action. I can tell you this as an attorney as well. There are a lot of people out there that are looking for legal jobs. For example, and what happens? They're a playmaker, okay? She's friendly, he's smart, he's got a personality, and if you would put him in front of a client, the client might like him, the client might pay a retainer fee. Well, we're in business, okay? But guess what? You want to make it out there in the world today as a lawyer? Ooh, it's not enough just to be a playmaker. When you're put in position and somebody found a client and they're in front of you, you got to be a play creator. You got to go find that client, because those are the people that are surviving in the tough economy that we have today. This is Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Bregman. Hope you enjoyed today's distinction and you'll apply it to your life, and we will see you the next time.
So again, you guys got to make things happen. You can only sit on your backside for so long. Cry, go in your bedroom and cry for a little bit as life gives you its ups and downs. But sooner or later, make something happen for yourself and turn it around. Okay, with that, Wanda, we ready for our next guest? Our guest? Okay, Mr. Presser, are you on the phone?
I am. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. Okay, everyone, I want to introduce you to, I'm super excited to have this guest on. His name is Hillel Presser. His website is assetprotectionattorneys.com. That's assetprotectionattorneys.com. Hillel, I want to give a little background. And I don't even know if you know this, but Hillel's former partner was a gentleman, and one of the greatest guys I've met, by the name of Arnold Goldstein, who unfortunately passed away, I don't know, a couple years ago. In the 1980s, I think it was 88 or something like that, my business was struggling. It went through some ups and downs. And I went to, I don't know, Barnes & Nobles or one of the bookstores at the time, and I got a book called The Business Doctor, How to Turn Your Headaches Business into a Debt-Free Money Machine. And that's really what led me to Arnold Goldstein, what led me to Hillel Presser. I would encourage anyone to Google, and I would think you could get this book. This is a fantastic book for anyone who has a business. Hillel, I was Arnold's partner, and their firm focuses on asset protection. I've referred numerous people to their firm over the years as well. I'm a client, and they've been fantastic. So, Hillel, before I let you, I have so many questions for you, because I don't want to say unfortunately, I deal with business people who are in trouble all their time, all their life, at the time when I deal with them. And they all say the same thing. I wish I would have had some asset protection. Hillel runs the company. They're a I shouldn't say company, law firm. They're a nationwide, and I think the foremost in the country, asset protection firm. You don't have to be big. You don't have to be, a billionaire to use them. You could be big, small, whatever to use them. Hillel is also an author. I have a bunch of his books on my bookshelf. I've actually forced my kids to read them. They're great books, and I'm super excited, Hillel, because I think people need you. So thank you very much for taking your time for your busy show and or your busy schedule for my show and being here today.
It's my absolute pleasure.
How's your day going? All right?
Everything's good. Can't complain.
Good. So what I see all the time, Hillel, is I deal with restructuring and turnarounds all the time. And my typical call, and this literally happens once a week, if not more, is somebody who's had a business for a long time and no fault of their own, they're in financial trouble. It could be because of a lawsuit, could be because of a partner dispute, it could be because their banks put them in default, even though they're paying their banks perfectly, and they're either losing everything or they're running the risk of everything. A lot of these guys have had a fortune in what I call protected assets, retirement accounts, and they've blown through them. So again, I am so passionate about this because I feel people's pains. So let's start out by maybe telling everyone a little bit about what asset protection is. And then if it's all right, we'll just keep it free flowing. And I just have a bunch of questions that I want to run by you.
Sure. Well, there's a lot of different definitions of asset protection, but kind of the legal or technical definition that I give of asset protection is the legal process of titling both your personal and business assets to put them beyond the reach of future potential threats and creditors. And essentially what we do as asset protection attorneys is we help our clients protect any asset they have from any financial threat. So while the majority of our clients might be business owners, doctors, professional athletes, really it's anybody who doesn't want to lose what they work so hard to obtain. It might be a school teacher who saved up for retirement, somebody who received money in an inheritance or a divorce, really anybody that doesn't want to lose any of their assets. And the type of assets we help them protect might be as simple as checking, savings, stocks, bonds, brokerage accounts, primary homes, rental or investment real estate, cars, boats, planes, but it might even be shares in a corporation or membership interest in an LLC. Could even be intellectual property like domains, trademarks, phone numbers, even future inheritances. So really anything of value. And we're helping protect it against any financial threat. And obviously in today's day and age, it's the land of the lawsuit. So whether it be a car accident, a slip and fall, etc., but again, it could be anything. It could be creditors, judgments, divorce, short sale or foreclosure deficiencies. So essentially what we want to do as asset protection attorneys is we want to make it so difficult, if not expensive and impossible to collect against you, that they don't want to sue you in the first place. We want to take our clients and make sure that they're not the low-hanging fruit.
Gotcha. I think it's important to stress that that as you go through life, a lot of unexpected things happen, and you could be, as strong as can be and do nothing wrong, but something will happen to you that puts you in a position where you could lose your assets. And in my book, and I want to ask you really when you think the time is for asset protection, because I learned that I think the time is when someone's just starting a business. Not if you have a young guy in his 20s and he's just starting an IT business, and then I think that's the time to start it, not when he's in his 40s and he's a millionaire already, because
Sure.
the sooner you start it, the better, even if you may not think it's appropriate, because you know what happens? You go through normal life, you forget about it, you get married, you sign debt documents, the banks have you by the you-know-what. So what's your feeling on when's the time to get it done?
Sure. Well, you brought up a couple good points, and just to start from the beginning, you're 100% correct in the sense that, nobody gets up in the morning and expects to be sued. We don't wake up and expect to get hit with a lawsuit, but, you might not even be a vulnerable spouse. Maybe you're not a doctor or a business owner. Maybe you're just taking care of the kids, but you can just as easily, get in a car accident taking the kids to soccer practice. On top of that, it might not even be that you do something. Liability can come from anywhere. Lawsuits have truly become the next biggest business. Why not find an attorney on any corner, hire them for free because it's a contingency fee basis, and sue? It costs you absolutely nothing to sue but maybe 20, 30 minutes of your time, and if you win, it's probably tax-free money, yet it costs the person you're suing tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend themselves. And what probably makes it the worst is it's one thing if we're responsible for our own actions, but, I had a client come into my office. His son was 16 years old. He was driving the father's car, and the son got in the accident. The son wasn't drinking. He wasn't speeding. It was just unfortunate, an accident. When they came in, the person that they hit already had over $1 million in medical bills. The father only had a couple $100,000 of insurance. So although the kid was driving, there's two people who can be sued. The driver, which was the kid, well, he doesn't have much, and the owner, which is the father. The father is going to be bankrupt because he only has a couple $100,000 of insurance, and he's going to be sued for well over $1 million, and that was just for the hospital bills, never mind you the pain and suffering. So it's one thing to take responsibility for your own actions, another thing when you're sued as a result of someone else when you didn't even do something. In regards to when you should start, you always want to be proactive, and you always want to put together some sort of asset protection plan as soon and as early as possible. And the reason I say that is that it's my belief that, the poor need asset protection way more than the wealthy. And, just take a regular example. Take the average person who might have saved up a couple $100,000 over their life to retire. Well, if they're sued for $1 million, there's no coming back. It's catastrophic. They're wiped out. They'll never return to wealth. Take one of my professional athletes who might sign a football contract, for $50 million. Well, if he's sued for $5 million, certainly he's not going to be happy, but he still has $45 million left. So my advice is start as early as possible. The less you have, the more you need the protection, obviously not to the same degree, but you want to start your asset protection plan when you start the business, not when you think you're successful or when you think you're wealthy, because I can guarantee you it'll be way too late and there'll be nothing you can do after the fact.
Got it. What does I realize that for every person in every situation, it's different, but if you could give us some bullet points of what an asset protection plan looks like. In other words, I know there's protected and unprotected assets, there's homestead, there's equity stripping, but maybe give the listeners just some bullet points on when we say asset protection, what does that actually mean? What are they doing?
Sure. Well, I think the first thing to understand and realize is that anything that's in your personal name you can lose. So if you have a boat, a car, a plane, a piece of real estate, checking, savings, stock, bond, brokerage account, anything that's in your personal name, we call that exposed wealth, and you can lose it. And it's always my goal to try and get a client to have nothing in their personal name, because it's very simple. If you have something in your personal name, you can lose it. I try and get my clients to stop worrying about ownership. Who cares about who owns something? I don't care who owns something. I just care of who gets, the benefit of that asset. In fact, I rather not own something, because if I own it, I can lose it. You have a brokerage account with a couple $100,000 in your personal name. If somebody sues you because it's in your personal name, you can lose it. So there's a couple different strategies that you can put in place right away. Number one, transfer the asset to a protective entity. And there's tons of different types of protective entities, LLCs, limited partnerships, trusts, corporations, et cetera, et cetera. Instead of having a brokerage account in your personal name where if you're sued, you can lose it, why not put that brokerage account in a protective entity like a limited partnership? Just like you and I are different people with different social security numbers, if somebody sues you, they can't sue me and vice versa. Well, if somebody sues you, they can't go after your protective entity. In this case, the example is a limited partnership. You have a social security number, the limited partnership has a different tax ID, and the law looks at you as two separate individuals. No different than with real estate. If you have a piece of real estate in your personal name, there's a good chance you can lose it. Why not take the piece of real estate and put it in a protective entity like an LLC? And again, by having the brokerage account or real estate in your personal name, if you get sued, you can lose it. By taking the brokerage account or the real estate out of your personal name and into a protective entity like a limited partnership or an LLC, nobody can take it. So one strategy is just taking assets out of your name and putting them in a protective entity. A second strategy is to convert your assets into exempt assets. Every state has a different list of exempt assets, and exempt assets just mean what's protected by state law. So, for example, in Florida, your house is protected, life insurance is protected, annuities are protected, retirement accounts are protected. The state of Florida has given you all these great assets that happen to be protected by state law. So why not take the assets that are in your personal name that are unprotected and exposed and invest them in some sort of protective asset like a primary residence, life insurance, retirement accounts, annuities, etc. And if you don't live in Florida, no worries. If you go to our website, it's www.assetprotectionattorneys.com, and on the left-hand side, there's a tab called Financial Planning Exemptions. If you hit that, it'll give you a list of every single state, and just find whatever state you live in, click on it, and it'll show you what is protected in your state. A third and final strategy, just for today, and I'm trying to keep things short, is to protect with liens. Poverty is power. What's $1 million house worth if you own $950,000? What's a $100,000 Mercedes worth if you own $95,000? Find ways to put liens and mortgages and encumbrances on your property. When lawyers look you up, and they will, you don't want to look like a good candidate for a lawsuit. You might not want a mortgage on your house. Well, why not get a line of credit? It gets recorded and shows up as a mortgage, but you don't have to pay unless you pull it. If you're going to put money into your business for marketing or equipment or employees, why not file a lien or a UCC, a mortgage, an encumbrance against your business? If your business fails, shouldn't you be the first creditor in line? So another strategy is to protect with liens. So just to recap, and again, we could talk for hours, anything in your personal name is exposed wealth, and if you're sued, you can lose it. You want absolutely nothing in your personal name. Strategy 1, get it out of your personal name, put it in some sort of protective entity. Strategy number 2, convert it to some sort of exempt asset that's protected by state law. And strategy number 3 is protect with liens.
They're all good stuff. I think it was, I forget who, but I remember reading on somewhere or watching one of these specials. I think it was Rockefeller said he wants to control everything but not have it in his name.
I always tell clients, own nothing, control everything.
Gotcha. Hillel, we have to take a break for the traffic and stuff like that. Will you stick around for the next set? I have a bunch more questions for you.
No problem.
Thank you. And stay with us, folks. We'll be back in a few minutes.